Happy New Year. We're just about to start the new year and kick off, say fair and fond and farewell to 2025 and
Mhm.
bring in the new year with an exciting person that we get to talk to all the way from Florida. I'm all the way in California. We got the two coasts here. And my interview this morning is with just a really profound talent, Tim Gannon. Am I saying that right?
Oh, very close. It's Gagnon.
Gagnon. Okay. And Tim, I met through a good friend, Chantel Meyer,
Hmm.
and she introduced us to him as a designer of the NASA astronaut. Astronaut. Let me see, get this right. The NASA patches and badges for the flights for the past 50 years. Did I get that right, Tim?
Well, not entirely. I've done commemoratives, obviously, but I've been very fortunate to work with 19 crews, helping them design their mission patch based
Oh,
on it. And it's a team effort. It's no patch has a single parent. So, I appreciate the accolades I get and the notoriety I've been given because of that work, but I'm not alone. There are many artists that do the same thing, and I've just been very fortunate.
I didn't realize that. So I appreciate the distinction. So, as we get going into this interview for Grand Magazine, Tim, I see a lot of memorabilia behind you, which I love seeing. And if you could find one thing that's nearby, a sketch, a patch, even a photo that feels connected to your work as a designer, do you want to show that up on the camera?
Sure, hang on just a quick second. I had
Sure.
something set aside here. I've been designing patches, as I mentioned, for astronauts since 2004. And last year, I was invited to participate in a Mars analog mission, which is a simulated mission in the Utah desert at the Mars Desert Research Station, sponsored by the Mars Society. And for the first time in all these years, I got to design a patch with my name on it.
Oh, oh, wow. That is amazing. And so in the center, is that a bird?
Yeah, we decided as a crew to name our team Phoenix. And my crewmates had various reasons for that. And of course, knowing the legend of Phoenix, it rises from the ashes and so forth. But I wanted this Phoenix to be landing as opposed to flying because me and my commander are both old enough to remember Apollo 11 and when Eagle landed on the moon. And so we had that in our mind when we came up with this patch design.
A beautiful story. And are you wearing that on your shirt?
Well, yeah, this is the just like the simplified version of just the Phoenix on the shirt.
Oh, that's lovely.
Yeah,
So,
it's definitely a bucket list item, and I'm glad I was able to do that. And the biggest pleasant surprise, well, two pleasant surprises. Uh, Freeze-dried food has improved a lot since I was in scouting 50 years ago. and, and I did not get claustrophobic when I put on the helmet. I was
mm,
I was very concerned about that because I do get bouts of claustrophobia from time to time, and I was worried that I'm going to put on this helmet and the fan is on and you're breathing and everything is fine, but then I would feel trapped. And luckily for me, I did not feel that. So
wow. I think that's fantastic. I never thought about that because I do get claustrophobic too. And because I can't stand an MRI, so that would be the same feeling. My
yeah,
goodness.
yeah, exactly.
Interesting. So, for our grand readers, you have two grandchildren. I
Yeah,
understand you have two grandsons, one's
yeah,
18 and 14.
yeah.
How do you think your work, do you think about your work differently now when you imagine them or the next generation looking at what you've created?
Well, one thing that gives me, I guess, the warm and fuzzy feeling is that knowing that no matter how many years into the future my grandson's grandchildren, if they research a mission that I worked on, the icon of that mission is going to be the patch I helped create.
Of course.
That stays with it forever. So that is a very comforting feeling. But what I hope happens is that with the advances in commercial space flight and exploration nowadays, that they become as inspired by what they witness as I did when I saw, our first explorations off the planet in Project Mercury, Gemini, and Apollo. And, if they can gain inspiration from that, then wonderful, because you
Yeah.
need inspiration in life.
Well, that's how dreams are made.
Exactly.
They complement each other. So I'm going to dive into the NASA mission patches. And when you were designing mission passes for NASA crews, what did astronauts most want the patch to say about them or their mission that the public never realized?
Well, it might be it, yeah, because every patch has a story, and NASA does publish it. When they unveil the patch, they publish, a 1 or 2 paragraph description of it, and the challenge is always to make it something unique. Now, there were more than 30 space shuttle missions that helped assemble the International Space Station. But of course, every crew wanted their patch to look different than the previous crew or the next crew. And there were crews that wanted, as much as they could cram into that small canvas. And then there were other crews that wanted it to be very simple, you know, almost as simple as the Gemini program patches that you and I remember when we were kids. And so each patch does illustrate the personality of that crew. A fun crew that we worked with, and I say we because I'm talking about my brother from another mother, Dr. Jorge Cartz. He's a retired orthopedic surgeon from Madrid, and he had always dreamed about designing mission patches as well. And when my first patch was unveiled, and that was Expedition 11 at a press conference in early 2005, he contacted me and said he had the same dream. He congratulated me. And I said, well, I don't know if we'll ever get another opportunity, but if we do, why don't we collaborate? So starting with STS 126 in 2008, we collaborated on every subsequent mission patch because I think the the best part about designing patches is the people that you're involved with. You get the
Yes.
experience with each crew. Um, some crews are very involved. Uh, we had one crew, Expedition 29. Mike Fossum was the commander, and he was so diligent in making sure all his crew weighed in and had a sense of ownership about that patch, that from the very first email to the last one that said, okay, we like it, it's done, was 11 months. And
Wow.
well, and there were breaks in there for training. I mean, they go to train in Japan and Europe and Russia and obviously in Houston. But he was just that deliberate in making sure that everybody had a voice, everybody weighed in. Are you good with this element? Do you want something different? And that was wonderful. It was an amazing experience. And then we had another crew, and it's not a good or a bad thing, but they liked the second we did a draft design. They had a couple of tweaks that they wanted, and then they were satisfied. And that was done in less than 2 months, and I was almost disappointed because I look forward to the give and take and the
Process.
back and forth.
Yes.
So
Yes.
it was like a Happy Meal versus going to a 5-star restaurant.
Great comparison. And how do you communicate? I mean, you've been doing this long enough that there wasn't Zoom. And
True.
would you, is it phone, in-person meetings?
Most of the time it was emails and usually a phone call like once a week, just to kind
Wow,
of
okay.
tag up. Because especially with space shuttle crews, they would have a crew meeting because they all go their various ways to do their individual mission training because they have different responsibilities. And then they kind of tag up one day a week. And that's when they would talk about the patch. And that's when I would get the phone call. And then after the phone call, we would make the changes that were requested. And then I would email them off again. And then eventually we got from, first sketches to final design, and everybody's happy.
Well, I'm going to now shift from NASA to the STEAM Race to Space Reading Challenge. And
That
when
was a
you,
fun challenge.
thank you so much. When you were first asked to design a patch for the STEAM Race to Space Reading Challenge, and I'm going to have it shown here on the screen as well.
Mm-hmm.
What stood out about the mission that made you want to say yes?
Well, you were encouraging children to read. And, that's near and dear to my heart. I mean, I still remember I was born in Hartford and grew up in the suburbs. And I still remember walking to the local library with my mother before I even started grade school and having a library card and getting to, I can take any book off the shelf. They had a kids section, of course. And yeah, and I was able to check it out and take it home and read it. And so my mother instilled in all of us, my siblings and I, a love for reading. And my wife and I haven't done that with our daughter as well. My daughter has not been as successful with her sons, but there's a lot more competition for attention nowadays than we used to deal with. But
So,
yeah, reading is you open up a piece of wood pulp, and a writer's words take you on an incredible journey, and you have the vision in your head of what you're reading, which is why so many Hollywood films fall short from the book, because if you've enjoyed the book, you've already got an image of what that story is supposed to be.
yeah.
And if they can't, and obviously there are time constraints and so forth, but if the director who's trying to tell his own version of the story can't match your perceived impression, then they fall short in your eyes. So yeah, although it can be challenging to read a book before you see a movie, I always read the book first because that's the original version of that story, and I want that part already embedded before I go see another interpretation.
So on the patch, you've got a rocket going up, and the launch pad is a huge stack of books.
Mm-hmm.
Love, 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 love that. Every time I show the patch to somebody, I always go, and look, the launch pad is a stack of books. How did that idea come together for you? And tell our readers what it represents for you.
Well, the challenge you guys presented to me was we're trying to use space exploration as a motivating tool to get kids excited about reading. Well, anybody who's ever been successful in space exploration has gotten a good education. And you can't get a good education without reading. That's
So true.
just it they're just cemented together forever. So whether you enjoy books for pleasure or you enjoy studying your major in college, you're cracking open a book. So, and it was also the image I of a quote I heard many years ago, and forgive me if I get it wrong, but the mission doesn't launch until the paperwork is as tall as the rocket. You have reviews and things get signed off and tests and so forth, And so the quote was saying, when that paperwork is as tall as the rocket, we are ready to go. So it
Mm,
was that kind of juxtaposition that got me thinking, okay, well, the rocket's on the pad ready for its crew, but the launch tower is a stack of books that you got to get through to get into the capsule.
yes. Well, I love the way that you report things and the way you categorize it. It's beautifully worded, but I want to have you share the story about the initials at the bottom of the.
Well,
Tell us
I
about
had
that.
to I had to honor the person that got me started. And so MIG are my mother's initials, Marie Irene Gagnon. And then, of course, mine are alongside of hers because she took me to the library for the first time. And I carried on that love of reading when I became a parent. So it was necessary for me to honor her. And I appreciate you guys allowing me to do that.
Well, we were happy too. So, what do you think she would think of the patch if she were able to notice it the first time? Would she pick it up right away, you think?
Oh, I think she'd like the patch because it has books on it. I when she passed away in 2004, I all of us siblings eulogized her, during my eulogy, I told everyone that I imagine my mother's version of heaven is the world's largest library, and there's never a late fee. And then she gets to interview the authors of the books that she loved, like Agatha Christie and all that, at leisure, and discuss their writing with them.
It is one of the joys that I have for Grand Magazine is that I get to interview very cool people like you, like other authors, like movie stars and movie directors. And I think that one thing that I like to convey in these ageless inspiration interviews is that inspiration comes from many places. And you're an artist, and your inspiration has to come from things around you, input you receive from people, and your own imagination, which as grandparents, we want to instill in our grandchildren. So I know they're going to really enjoy this interview and getting to see all the wonderful work that you do.
Well,
So I want
thank
to
you very much.
thank you, Tim, and it's been a pleasure being able to talk to you.